All right, we here, baby. What's good, family, folks, everybody on the other side of the interwebs? We thank you so much for joining us today for Mental Health Talks. Today we're talking about resilience, which is funny because before this started, I sent Willie a video. My computer was just spazzing out. It's like they knew, bro. They just know they don't want us to get these conversations, and I don't know what it is, man. I had to reset the computer and everything, but we here and we finna get it
Yeah,
regardless. We blessed. How you doing,
you
bro?
know, to say I'm staying resilient would be an understatement.
We practice
But
what we preach.
it's one of those days where the sun ain't out,
I feel you, man.
but it's raining.
Yeah,
You know, the clouds just has the depiction of life looking a little,
a little dreary.
yeah, But to say what is resilience when you're faced with an environment that looks like that?
Hmm.
You even have that word, obviously you have to go through something that
Yeah.
puts you to the test. And to say that these rainy days put you to the test to see if you got that inner that inner sunshine, that inner keep on going.
Yeah. That's it, man. We just stay with it. You got to stay with it, stick with it, knowing that the sun is eventually going to come back round. And I gotta say, I'm probably in the same boat as you. This whole week has been kind of crazy, but today especially, I've just been, I don't know, man. It's just been one of those days again. So, but we here, so we're gonna get it in. The question I
Yeah.
wanted to ask the people today is, how do we optimize for growth? And before we kind of get into the conversation bit, I had a few things that I wanted to hit off on because I think that when we think of resilience, we tend to think of something that is sustainable. And I want to just make sure that we have a little bit of a differentiation there because sustainability is the ability for something to be maintained, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
have the garden or something, so it's sustainable if it's able to be maintained. But what requires the maintenance is something external, right? You need to keep on putting something in, whether it's sunlight, water, air, whatever. Resilience is the capacity to recover, right? So there's a difference there. You got the ability to be maintained and the capacity to recover. And so
Mm-hmm.
you want to ideally be both of those things, but resilience is better because when you can recover, that's an internal thing. You don't need somebody else outside telling you this is how you can do well. You already have it in you, right? And so you're able to bounce back from tough situations, just realizing that you have that resilience. And so I think that one of the things that we often look at in terms of how do we survive, how do we maintain is what are the things around me? There's a really good thing you said. I can't remember if it was this week or last week, but it was something along the lines of like if you have the ability to do no. Let me not misquote you. You were talking about something to do with how we bounce back from things. You said, oh man, I guess the gist of it was there are two kind of systems at play. One, and this is what I got from it. One of them, as I said, is external, and one of them is internal. The external system is based in systems. The internal one is based in reality. At least that's how I view it. Because you have systems, but systems degenerate, right? Like that's the second law of thermodynamics is that you can't have a system that stays consistent because all systems eventually lead towards entropy. Entropy is like randomness. It degenerates because essentially you can't make a perfect system. But what we have to know is that internally, we are already perfect. We are whole. And so if we are able to lean into our own perfection, we don't have to rely on external systems that are dictating how we move. And I think that's what you said. You said something along the lines of like, if you're relying on something externally, then you're, dang, bro, I don't want to mess it up. But it was something along the lines of if you're relying on something externally, then you're not being fully yourself. And so to optimize is to effectively engage with truth, our internal self, and then to improve the outcomes based on that. And so I wanted to kind of ask you as a lead off question is, how do you think that kind of optimizing yourself, or what do you think that that process looks like in terms of not being fully reliant on the environment and being able to kind of do things in your own power? I think that's what you said. It's like being a product of your environment versus controlling your environment, right? It was
Mm.
something along those lines. And so instead of being a product of your environment, instead of being, influenced by what's around you, it's about creating that environment and creating what's around you so that you have more power, essentially. And so what does that look
Uh,
like for you? How do you kind of move in that paradigm?
And the irony, bro, of it is that our talks have been literal stepping stones of how it would look for me.
Mm,
To say that growing, in one of the last topics we discussed, was that we were talking about nature, how it has those wildfires. It has those times where destruction comes, but in that chaos comes creations. And saying that nature has its own type of inner resilience, inner dependence, where it's this literally is a field of ash, but through resilience of nature, it can grow into a beautiful field of flowers again.
facts.
And like you were hitting, bro, is would you want to maintain or be resilient? Because what if to say somebody came and set a fire to your place, and then it's like, you can't maintain that fire, but you can bounce back, you can grow again, and those steps are
Mm,
to say that in order to be resilient, one must first lose connection to everything around you to know that it's coming from you.
mm. We almost have to go through that, right? Like it's like they say this in the church a lot. It's like your test leads to your testimony, and that can kind of sound
Man,
cheesy sometimes, but it's real. It's like what your story has to come from some sort of struggle, or else it's not really a story. Like if you have no opposition, then are you really great? Like if you don't have any sense, like if there's nobody who's trying to put their thumb on you and say no, and you just have unadulterated success at every step of the way, you just keep on winning and winning and winning, and nobody ever, comes against you, then that's not really success. Nobody wants to watch a story where the protagonist is just winning every single time, right? Like that's why we have these great superhero movies and a lot of these Marvel films. Like you have to have some sort of antagonist in order for the story to work. But if you break apart at just the first, somebody comes and opposes you and you just, then you essentially are dictating your own terms. You're saying that I'm not going to be able to overcome these things. And there's this author, very, very intelligent dude named Nassim Taleb, Middle Eastern dude, very good thinker. And he talks about this concept of anti-fragility. So you have something that's fragile, right? That's something that just breaks. And then you have something that is maybe robust and it doesn't break right away. So it's something that is not, I don't know, like it, I can't think of a great example right now, but it would be something that maybe like a bulletproof vest or something. Like it doesn't get penetrated, right? But then you have anti-fragility, which is different. Anti-fragility means you actually get stronger every time something opposes you. So it's
mm,
like this idea that it's almost like Thanos or something, right? Like when you have the ring where you take in that whatever um that opposition is, you take it in and it becomes part of you now. So you are more powerful because of what you go through. And I think that's a very, very powerful idea when we thinking of mental health, when we thinking of being able to move in this on this plane of reality, is that if you take that idea and you really meditate on it and you really let that become part of you, then you begin to realize that no matter what happens, you win. You either win or you
mm.
learn, and everything that happens to you becomes a part of your ability to move forward on the next iteration and the next, you know. part of the flywheel, right? And so it's really, it's becoming that type of person, that type of organism, that type of individual who, no matter what, you're going to come out of it. So it's just a matter of, how am I going to go through this so that I can make it out on the other end? And this is a very, very powerful idea. And that's one of the things that the enemy doesn't want folks to know, because when you start to realize that I am anti-fragile, I'm invisible, invincible. Things that happen to me aren't going to break me down. What did Kanye say? Whatever don't kill me, make me stronger. It's that idea, bro. We
Exactly.
really can, we grow through what we go through. And that makes us powerful. When we understand that those things that we go through allow us to then supersede and transcend, then nothing scares us anymore, because we know that it's just another thing that we got to get out the way so that we can, maneuver. So those are the two main ideas. And now we can kind of go off risk. It's internally versus externally, and then understanding that we go through what we go through and we continue to optimize and build ourselves up. But I don't know. How do you optimize a system, or how do you optimize something that maybe doesn't recognize its own ability? So we're talking about mental health, which means that maybe somebody watching this is struggling with that. Maybe they don't have that sense of self to where they think that they can go through those things. So it's like, how do you talk to somebody to see the world in a new way so that they can begin to understand, like, yo, I have the power to change my reality, to change my environment so that I can become what I want to become? It's a tough one.
You said it. You said it. Talk. You just got to talk. And pain produces lessons. Hope turns to power. And prayers manifest blessings. And to say, through every obstacle, every time you're hurt, you learn something. You learn how not to do something. You can teach somebody.
Yeah.
Next, you could say, hey, I'm hopeful this won't happen again. That hope then turns into your power. That hope, knowing that the situation may happen again and you already know how to encounter it.
You got it.
Turns into your power.
Yeah.
And then when you get really advanced, man, you just speak. People call it prayer. People call it manifesting. But it's literally telling the world how you feel about yourself. When you open up your mouth and your thoughts are positive, why wouldn't the world respond to you in a positive manner? Why wouldn't the creator say, I put these thoughts into you for a reason so that they can come to you? And as you're speaking them, they're already here for you. It's just up to you to use the tools that I've given you. I gave you a mouth, I gave you ears, I gave you legs to move. But if we aren't using them, how are we gonna know which direction to move in? And if we get hit after maintaining, and our minds aren't resilient enough to say, hey, I can come back from this. I got hope. This is my power.
Yeah. It's about realizing.
Say, bro, it's about knowing you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Realizing your strength. And in the society where mental health comes in, I feel like people have not identified their strengths and more so gave crutches to their weaknesses.
That's big. That is big. Let's harp on that for a little bit, because there's this idea that I think mental health is a lot of trying to fix people's pain points and fix people's weaknesses. In the past, maybe couple of decades, maybe decade or so, there's been this rise of this idea called positive psychology, where we think about, instead of studying people that are sick and then making sorts of we make these programs in order to help folks that are sick, and then we use that to then superimpose on the rest of society. Why don't we study the people that are healthy and then say, what have they done right? And how can we now use those lessons? Isn't that crazy to think that we haven't thought of that? It's like, why are we always looking at the people that aren't well and saying, how can we mitigate this? Instead of saying, this is what does work. How can we maximize this? And that's a really important thing you said, bro, because sometimes we just don't realize who we are. And so we walk around, or we don't walk around, we on crutches because we don't realize we have legs. It's like, you got the legs, bro. Walk, run, go. That's what we talked about last week. Start, just go and see what happens. But if you always thinking that you're messed up, you're always thinking that you're broken, it's very hard for you to then move in a way that you have any confidence, because you're always going to be apologizing for yourself. You're always going to be tripping over your words. You're always going to be this, that, and the other. And that's, what is that? That's that programming that we continually talk about. All this programming that's around us telling you that you less than, telling you that you need more, telling you need this product, you need this thing, whatever. But in reality, you have it. You have it all. Like the fact that you are even in existence is a miracle. So why denounce that? Why just pretend that that isn't there? Like, let's keep the ball rolling, so to speak. It's like we already were the sperm to make it to the egg, and we came out the womb and we made it to this age. Even 50, 100 years ago, parents would have 4 or 5 kids knowing that half of them would die. We in a day and age where we're able to live, bro. So let's do the damn thing.
Let's
That's all I'm
live.
saying.
Let's thrive.
Let's thrive.
And it's like, why survive when
you can thrive? The technocrats are back at it.
When you can create your environment.
Are you back?
Bro.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're talking about mental health, but it's about the health of the environment as well.
It's holistic. Yeah.
And so, and it's how I feel.
Yeah.
Especially literally pays attention to the negativity. What do you think is going to happen? Every time there's a child acting out in a negative manner, people are looking at it. And so that kind of reinforces that child, because they're like, oh, I may not be doing this because, this is what I'm from it as far as attention. And to say, bro, I'm shooting today, and it's like, I'm very good at what I do. I probably hit about 30 shots in a row. And it's like, people are really wanting me to miss. But it's like, we're in a crazy world where people want you to miss and not see your potential of seeing how many shots you can hit in a row. So what they would, the ball off, or they're like, he made another one. You ain't gonna miss, Oh man, you keep on hitting shots, you must think you're good. Like, these are the environment. Instead of saying, hey, keep going.
It is crazy to think about. Why do we do that? I think it exposes our lack, our own inability sometimes. Maybe that's why. Because I think we do that often. We see greatness and we want to tear it down. It's like you see somebody just doing great things, pushing the boundaries of human ability, and we just go, no, that can't be right. No. And it's like, why do that? Why not encourage them to see how far this could go, and then be encouraged by that and say, maybe I could do that. I feel like that would just be a healthier way to look at it.
And then that's where it all comes into.
Yeah.
What are we showing attention to, and what are we inspiring people to do? And it's like, I'm a huge person. Arts is where I see what they're. And
your Wi-Fi is kicking my butt right now. Are you back? Kinda.
You got me.
Yeah, we back.
And bro, I'm gonna speak on Kanye, because it's just like, he was one of those people where we're showing him attention, but what is he doing? Why are we talking about the things that he's doing negatively in a positive manner? How do you know that this man is literally dealing with the things that going on in a health where, bro, there's probably like tens and thousands of people telling him these comments about what he's doing is wrong. And it's like, how's that thriving in a situation where we just want to grow and reach our maximum?
That's real. It's like we just, yeah. I like that example because I think Ye is one of those folks that we, as a culture, sometimes we've thrown him away in some cases, and it's not necessarily because, like, even if it's a political thing or if it's something he said that rubbed us the wrong way, it's like we immediately hone in on that thing and we forget everything great he's done. Like, not just him. Let's even talk about anybody else, bro. They do great, 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 great. And then they make one comment and then they can get immediately cut off, canceled. We forget about you in a second. What does that tell people? That tells them that, look, no matter what you do, all you got to do is mess up one time and we throw you away. Just mess up one time. I think you frozen again. You might not even hear me, but I'm talking to y'all, whoever's watching this.
I hear you.
Oh, you got me. So it's like that idea, bro. Like, why do we keep on making folks think that? It's like, why don't we give them, like you said it before, like giving folks their flowers, being able to say, yo, I appreciate you in this way, or whatever. And then allowing things to kind of manifest as they may. See where it ends up. If you keep on encouraging the good part of people, maybe that good part will be the part that grows. But if you keep giving attention to the other part, you know, they always say like, oh, it don't matter if you're messing up because that sells, like this sells and like whatever sells. And it's like this idea that all you got to do is create conflict and then people are going to pay attention to you. But why do we pay attention to that? Why don't we pay attention to the people that are silently tilling their land, doing the good work day in, day out, making sure that their family is good and their community is good and their society is good? We don't really care about that. That's too boring. We want to look at the big car crash on the side of the road. And it just speaks to something in our psyche. Like, what is that? Why do we do that? Another thing I wanted to talk about is, and like we kind of hit on this, it's creating the conditions for growth instead of just reacting to the conditions. It's like, really, we got to develop our own internal character, develop that grittiness. There's a psychologist named Angela Duckworth who talks about this idea a lot, is grit. It's like being able to go through things. And that requires us to focus not necessarily on the outcome, but on the journey. Day in, day out, what are the routines that we are allowing ourselves to have? What are we doing that will make us into the person we want to become? Because if we don't create those good feedback loops, if we don't create that good flywheel of learning, listening, and then creating and being able to then take that and continue to improve on it, iterate on that, become better with that, it's really tough to go through this world, bro. We already know this world is tough. And if you don't have something inside you that is driving you, then you might just lay flat, or you might just go for the first thing somebody offers and say, oh yeah, I'll take it. Whole time that person doesn't value you. The only person that can truly value you is you, because you know. But if you give somebody else the permission, right? I saw this today. It's like the way that the entertainment industry works is a lot like the way how pimps work. I think this was Ice-T who was saying this. It's like you have these acts or these rappers who come to the labels, and the labels are essentially like the pimps. And what do pimps do when a girl comes? They say, let me make you look good. Give them a dress, give them some pumps, let them, look good in that situation. So what do we do to the artist? Give them a chain, give them some money. And then we say, go show yourself, go show out, break yourself, right? And so that's what happens. We have these acts, and literally that's what they are. They're acting, they're acts, and they go out and they pretend and they, they rap harder and they dance harder and they make everybody whatever, also that they can get that check. But at the end of the day, who are you doing it for? Because if you're doing it for that dude over there, then he already knows he owns you. And that's not a good place to be long term, because now you have to keep up the act in order to keep getting whatever you want from that person. And it's just a sad state of affairs that we've allowed ourselves to get into.
Man, and you just open up a whole nother discussion board for the mental.
Really?
And music is really big. All time, music is always big.
Yeah.
And it correlates to saying what are people, how are people expressing themselves in a generation. And if you can cut on the music and listen to how people are expressing themselves nowadays, you would question. And me and my, we tend to want to create art obviously
Lost you again. Oh, you back, you back. Go back to where you said me and my little man's was creating.
creating some vibes, because it's just like into mainstream music mentally. What are these people?
Damn, bro. Is it your phone?
Is it helping,
It's really
bro?
bad today. It's real bad today. I don't know if it's me. Like it's might be the phone. But I keep losing you every 2 seconds. And you be getting into it too. I'm ready to listen.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to get the connect. It's all smooth on my end. I don't know what's going
Oh, really?
on.
Damn.
Yeah, you got me though.
Yeah,
You
I
hear
got you
me?
back. Yeah.
All right. But I was just talking about the music, the media,
Mhm.
the creation, influence behind them, and how to the environment of us talking to each other and expressing through music. So we're hearing a constant vibe right now that is like overly saturated in my mind, where it's like people are just singing the blues.
Mhm.
Respond to young, is it
Leave the studio.
fostering going in and out?
Yeah. Let me just hit you. Let me hit you with this thought. I think part of where mental disease comes from, and literally dis-ease, right? Like we talk about that too. It's like a feeling that we can't deal with reality. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like a lot of mental disease is coming from this place where we feel like reality is too much, whether it's this anxiety, which means like, oh, it's literally I can't, it's the inputs are just too much and the outputs won't come out, or maybe it's depression where it's like nothing really matters, and so we can't really. But all of these mental diseases come from a sense of not being accurately attuned to reality. We're specifically tuned to a certain frequency, but it's not the whole. And so we get bouts of, schizophrenia, anxiety, depression, bipolar, because we're tuned into a version of reality that maybe is a little bit too, it's a bit, it's like, it's like you have a symphony, which is the entire thing, but we like listening specifically to the flute or something like that.
Mm.
And so we don't get the whole picture. We just get that one picture. And it's not saying that that's incorrect. Like the flute is still playing, it's still there, but we miss everything else. We miss the beauty that that harmony would create because we focused on one part of it. And so I wonder if part of how we become mentally healthy is by understanding that maybe we're too narrow. Our viewpoint is too narrow. Part of how we become resilient is by understanding that maybe what I am responding to in this moment isn't the full thing. And if I were to get a better picture of things, maybe I would have a better sense of my position in it, or my ability to interact with it. And then when you get that better picture, it creates a system, or it creates an environment where now you're able to engage more deeply. You're able to then have that real dialogue, that engagement, because you're fully there, you're fully in it, you're fully present. And I wonder if that's part of it. Like, being resilient is in part understanding what is really happening and being able to lean into that. You feel me?
Hey, and to say that you speaking the words literally that I'm thinking, bro. And
Yeah.
to say resilience is kind of like having faith
Mm.
and just knowing and just keep on putting that step ahead,
Yeah.
just to keep growing. Like
Yeah.
we, we stopped growing at some point in time. And as I look in generations that came before us, it's like I'm thinking like I thought the human body was supposed to get better and better over time. Like,
Mm.
and maybe this is a thought out of this world, but to say that we are beyond intelligent creations that have the ability to do anything. But living seems to be something that we lack. And all things in nature seem to live and thrive to their full capacity as butterflies come from worms. Who can you really look at and say that's a full grown, fully functioning, evolved adult
Hmm.
human being?
Yeah. It's because we always cut them down, right? Look what we were saying. We go to the cocoon and we start slicing that mug up because we don't want to see the butterfly. I think that's one of the things. Kendrick Lamar is a beautiful example of this. He, even his album "To Pimp a Butterfly"
Mm.
speaks directly to that paradigm, bro. I encourage everybody who hasn't heard it or who's only listened to it a few times in passing or just listen to it to buy, go listen to that album for real. Listen to each song and how he puts it together, because he's telling you a story. Part of that story is how society doesn't want these butterflies to come out. That's what Tupac was talking about, rose from concrete. It's like these motives, they keep on popping up in society. We're trying to tell the same story over and over. How do we continue to let these people then stay underneath when all we need is to encourage each other?
You would
That's
think.
really all it requires.
You
Encouraging
would
each other.
think.
Go ahead, bro. My bad.
Hey, and that hey, you said that word encouragement. And you how do you be resilient without encouragement?
Hmm.
Something has to be encouraging you to be resilient. And that's why I feel like that inner presence is what encourages me, what
Hmm.
encourages you, what encourages nature to be able to say, this has been totally burnt down or
Hmm.
destroyed, but I'm encouraged. Like,
Faith,
how do you take that and write that in a book and tell somebody to do it?
and that's that faith component you was talking about. Literally encouraged to give courage and to take
Mm,
courage, right? It's to take that strength. And so sometimes you draw it from internally. You take that inner strength, you encourage yourself, but sometimes you just need somebody to be like, yo, I see you, I appreciate you. And that, boom, you never even know how much that can mean to a person.
mm.
It's really crazy how much like a little word of encouragement will spur on something where we can't even, wow, that came from that. You'd be surprised how many success stories started from somebody just believing, you know? There's one other person that says, you know what? I believe in you, bro. That's all people need. And we could provide that to each other. It's free. And we acting like
Hey,
it costs. It don't cost nothing at all to be good hearted, man.
You mean I ain't gotta pay you to say you see what I'm doing and you like it and you know you could
It's
share
like
the post or give a comment on it or something and
it's like
interact.
why are we
I
acting
ain't gotta
like
pay you for
this?
that.
Like it's free, bro. Free 99. Say I love you. Say I see you. Say whatever. It don't cost you nothing. But people are too worried about their. I really don't know. Maybe it's the their image or they don't want to get whatever they don't play. But it's literally that the universe was created so that love was free to give for a reason. We can give it freely. As a matter of fact, the more we give it, the more we have. It doesn't even make sense. It's one of
And
those,
then the more you get back.
it's a paradox. It's like the more we give to each other, the more abundant this entire system becomes. Instead of trying to formulate the perfect system, we already know systems degenerate. But if we're all loving each other perfectly, then we can see this thing go to the moon. And it'll be because we all are encouraging, loving, showing out for each other. And when we do that consistently, then really resilience is the byproduct. Naturally, we become tougher. Naturally, we become grittier because we know, like, even if I do fall, I got somebody right by me who's going to say, "Lo, let's get up. Come on." Yeah, that's all we need, man. A lot of times, and I end with this thought, this idea that addiction is, I got this from a TED talk. I can't remember who said it, but it's like addiction isn't necessarily somebody being sick in the head. It's a lack of human connections. And so we
Mm.
look for those human connections in substances or in whatever it is that we're addicted to. And I thought that was a really deep thought because that changes the entire way we treat these people with addiction. Instead of looking at somebody and saying, "You're sick, you're messed up, go get help," we'll say, "Hey, I'm here for you. I'm able to provide something for you," whether it's love, whether it's just presence, whether it's, we talked about love, sometimes it's just being there. So being there for a person can actually help mitigate their addiction because really all they're looking for is somebody to connect to, but they can't find that. And so they would rather just, fall out, connect with whatever. It's like the serotonin or the dopamine. It's like the same thing that fires when we're in close intimacy with something is the same things that fire when we're taking these drugs. And so it's almost like literally a puzzle that God put in our brain and said, "Yo, I need you to fill this with this," but we go and find something else that almost kind of fits and we fill it with that instead. And so it's like, yo, maybe if we just fit it with what was actually meant for it, we would be healthy. Instead of trying to go around and say, "This is where you're wrong, this is where you're whatever," what if we just provided each other with that deep, truthful, authentic, genuine relationship that we so crave? It's like we all are just walking around, even when you're amongst a bunch of people, but we're all some reason we're alone. It's like we feel lonely, even though you could be in a crowd, and that doesn't make sense to me. There's 7 billion, 8 billion almost people on the planet, and we can't figure out how to love each other yet. It's for real.
What are
Like we
we
gotta get
teaching?
past it. We gotta get
What
better.
what are we teaching, man?
What are we teaching? What are
If
we
it
learning?
ain't with love,
Hmm.
if love ain't involved, what are we teaching? If
Hmm.
creating a value isn't involved, what are we teaching?
Hmm.
If creating self-identity isn't involved, what are we teaching?
Hmm.
If we can't express ourselves, literally, we have masks on our face now. What are we teaching?
Hmm.
And I'm really big on the psychology side. And to say
Hmm.
that you can take away a behavior, but then it'll be like trying to put a band-aid on like a leaky faucet, bro. Then it's just gonna be spewing out all over the place. So we need a better We need a better Band-Aid. Matter of fact, we don't even need a Band-Aid. We just need to replenish and rebuild and be more resilient. Start all over, grow something new.
Yeah, replace the pipes.
Be renewed. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We need to replace the pipes, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll end it there. This was a good talk. For those who were watching, made it through the end, even through all of the technical difficulties, we appreciate you. Much love to you. Again, we just doing this to hopefully encourage you. It's also encouraging us. And at the end of the day, we'll come back. We'll make these better. We might redo them to clean it up, have an official, theme and branding and all that good stuff. But for now, we really just hashing through these ideas in real time. And so if you're coming along with us, you watching it happen. And so we appreciate you. Follow my guy Willie on the socials at Divine Lee with 3 eyes. Follow me at Time to Grow Dude. That's Twitter. That's Instagram. Facebook, you can catch me too. Tasso Muhammad Haruna. We'll be back again for our last, this is the last one I've planned for, which is identity. So that's going to be a big one. I feel like it's a good one to end on because a lot of these things tie into this concept of who we are. Like we keep on hitting on that subject, is knowing who you are, becoming yourself. That's one of the things that the threads that have run through this entire series of mental health talk. So hopefully you'll catch us for that one. In the meantime, stay wavy, stay healthy, stay in love. Appreciate you, Willie. We'll do this again soon.
All love, bro.